Hello everyone and welcome back to The Crow. I'm Lauren Ballard, the Multimedia Editor for the Chanticleer. The Crow is our podcast, and here we will briefly discuss and go behind the scenes on the stories that were published this past week. Alright, now I'm here with Student Media Business Manager Deanna Jennings, here to talk about advertising and how to get on with that. So, Deanna, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Like Lauren said, my name is Deanna Jennings. I am the Student Media Business Manager here at Jax State. I essentially go out and seek out partnerships throughout the department on campus and throughout Jacksonville for advertising for the Chanticleer and for the radio station. So if you guys are interested in advertising and you really need to broaden your audience, or your target audience is college students, I highly recommend you DMing me or the Chanticleer. And if you want to, you can also email me if you guys have any other questions. My email is deanna.jennings@wljs919.com if you guys have any questions. And yeah.
You can spell that DEANNAGENNINGS.
Yeah, J.
Don't we, or yeah, sorry, J, not G. Including with the advertisements, don't you also design them if they want it to be designed?
Yeah, so absolutely. So specifically for the Chanticleer, I know we have a variety of options for advertising. We have the magazine, and then we also have social media platforms. Specifically for the magazines, you guys can get 3 different sizes. So we have full page, a half page, and a quarter size page. So if you are a business that doesn't really have a marketing team, or if you are having trouble like what you want your message to be or what you want your ad to be, I can design them for you if you need help with that.
Right. And we also, Deanna has a good list of prices up for whatever you could possibly think you might want. Definitely reach out to her. So we can get some ads going. Yes,
absolutely. And also, I know earlier that I mentioned that we also use social media. So if you guys are interested in advertising, let's say you have a party or if you have an event that you really want to get out there, the Chanticleer and WLJS do allow you guys to advertise on their platforms. It just costs, I want to say, around $35 per post. But if you are really interested in that, like I said, hit me up on Instagram, on Facebook. You can also DM the Chanticleer, and also on their page, they have it pinned around like the prices and like all the other information that they have for advertising. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Deanna. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, now I'm back with AnnaKate Freeland, our Editor-In-Chief, and she is here to talk about her Leah Tarvin story that was posted this past week. So what went into that, AnnaKate?
Yeah. So Leah Tarvin was a student who got struck on a crosswalk in front of Brewer Hall in November of 2022. And she was immediately airlifted and pronounced dead the next day. So her 3rd year anniversary of that was a couple weeks ago, and I did a longer feature story. Kind of her death prompted like a huge task force, or like safety pedestrian initiative towards like, so obviously like in front of Marilyn Brewer, that all that construction that just wrapped up, that was because of her death. Mm-hmm. There's some new construction coming down 21 south of the library, and then on Highway 204. So all of those projects are because of Leah getting hit on a crosswalk. And then I also covered some of the like lawsuits that came from it. I didn't get any luck. I didn't have any luck getting in contact with any lawyers, but the driver was granted youthful offender status in 2023. So all of her court documents are gone from public record. Mm-hmm. So I really didn't have anything to work with on that side. But Leah Tarvin's mom did sue the driver in a civil case, though there's really no progress. And what her mom told me was that there's not really anything they can do because the driver was 19 when she hit Leah, and she doesn't have anything. She would file for bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of like the hard news part of it. And then I also just explored like what is life like without Leah. I talked to her mom, talked to her grandmother. I talked to one of her best friends, that was her college roommate, and then I talked to one of her teachers. And yeah, it was sad. Like, I wasn't here on campus in 2022, so it was sad, and I know, like, a concern for them, or for some people were like, you know, when Leah got hit, the people that were freshmen then will be graduating in May. And so it's kind of like, you know, who else is going to talk about her story?
Yep.
If the people that were here when it happened aren't here anymore.
Yeah, and we don't not often cover a lot of stories that go into really sad and deep backgrounds. So how was that, having to redig all that up with them and her family?
Yeah. I mean, I had to do a lot of research before, just because I had to make sure I knew, I was informed. I know like the editors at the time covered it really heavily. So I went back, made sure I read all those stories, and then like just talking to people like who are like experiencing grief even years later. It's like definitely not something I have a lot of experience doing. But it's definitely like what I think I've learned just in general when talking to people. When you're interviewing, like obviously you let them talk, you don't talk, and just like be patient with them. They might, like when I was interviewing her mom, it was a lot of like, she told me things that she said, but don't put this in the story. And it was just like allowing her to get that off of her chest.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you were able to cover it and, you know, share her story for her family and let it be known and carry that legacy on. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'm here with Austin Tackett, sports editor. We're going to talk about the big game that was this weekend against Kennesaw State that we won.
Yep. Top two teams in Conference USA going head-to-head. Kennesaw State was technically the number one seed in Conference USA, considering they had a better overall record than Jack State. But both teams were undefeated in conference play, tied for a top of the Conference USA. And I originally predicted Jacksonville State to come out top, 27-24. But I did not expect the game to go in the fashion that it did. Kennesaw State piled up nearly 600 yards of offense, while I believe Jack State was just under 400. So it was a very offensive-heavy game, which I kind of mentioned in my preview story. It was going to be two high-powered offenses. But I didn't expect the Jack State defense to force 4 turnovers, play as good as they did inside the 20-yard line. As soon as basically every time the Owls got into the red zone, the defense stepped up and made a play and either got the ball back for their offense or kept them out of the end zone. Gamecocks ended up taking that one 35-26, I believe. Cam Cook, did his thing, crossed the century mark. He's unfortunately no longer the leading rusher in FBS after Ahmad Hardy's 300-yard game against Mississippi State. But I think he would probably put it best. He doesn't really care about the numbers. He doesn't care about leading the country. Kind of just wants to win. He's been very vocal about that in press conferences and stuff, but I'm sure deep down, leading the country is a pretty cool thing to do. Also got to talk about DeAndre Johnson, who had another huge play. Just before the half ended, Coach Kelly called for Gavin Wimsatt to come in, throw a Hail Mary ball. In the press box, my boss at my internship and I, we were talking. We were like, yeah, we would just take a knee. Like, what are we doing? Like, you never know what could happen. And then they ended up throwing a 64-5-yard touchdown to end the half and walk away with a 2-score lead, and then went on to go for 2 and get that with Cade Cunningham, who was their third-string quarterback. So it was a ridiculous game. I mean, the Gamecocks defense forced Amari Odom to make mistake after mistake after mistake after he was dicing them up, basically all the way up until the red zone. And then Dexter Williams II came in, or maybe it's the third. I believe it's the second. Dexter Williams II came in and continuously made the same mistakes that Odom did. And it just turned out to be a great outing for the Gamecocks, who now sit alone at top of Conference USA with a good chance to host the Conference USA Championship for the second year in a row. Other than football, though, Gamecocks men's basketball caught a big win against Coastal Carolina the other day. I believe Mo surpassed 20 points again. We talked about him a little bit last week. I think I don't remember how we decided to say his last name, but I have found out that teammates and coaches, they just call him Mo. So I will be referring to him as just Mo from here on out. But he looks like to be this year's Jerron Pierre. If you don't know who Jerron Pierre is, he was a top 3 scorer in the nation last season. Helped the Gamecocks get to the Conference USA Championship in basketball. Unfortunately, they fell. But Mo looks like he's going to be that guy that's going to score a lot of points. But a couple of guys looks like they have the ability to go out there and score 20 points a game. So it should be a good season for Ray Harper and company. But like I was saying about the football team, very good chance they play in the Conference USA Championship. Very good chance they host it again. So I would get ready for another chilly night in December for the Conference USA Championship. The last 2 games remaining are FIU and WKU. A win against FIU would put us in a good spot to host, but a win against WKU would put us in the best spot to host, I would say. WKU and Kennesaw State don't play, so they don't have a tiebreaker to go through. So if the Gamecocks did end up losing to WKU, that would become a big implicator about who's going to host or where it's going to be, who's going to be in. So last 2 weeks definitely mean a lot. This FIU game is going to be an away game, but the last game is a home game, so it's our last chance to see the Gamecocks at home for a scheduled game. We don't know if they will be playing in the Conference USA Championship, but by that Saturday we will. Obviously going to go to a bowl game, but obviously not going to be in Jacksonville, right? So not many chances left to see your Gamecocks on their home field, so I'd get out there and I'd go see them, especially for us elder students who aren't going to be able to see them much once we get out of here, graduate, get a real job. Got to take that opportunity when it's in front of you and go see the Gamecocks. Hopefully take Conference USA again.
Have they ever hosted before?
Last year. Yeah. They hosted last year and beat WKU like 52-13. Really good. I did the gamer on that, yeah.
For sure.
We submitted it for a Pinnacle Award too. Yeah.
Honorable mention.
No, that wasn't the same one. The one that got honorable mention was the one where we clinched hosting. Or no, maybe it was just clinching a spot. I don't even know if we clinched hosting in that story. Maybe that's why I got honorable mention. Probably should have did the championship story. But that's neither here nor there. Gamecocks back in full force. A lot of people prior to the season were kind of doubting Charles Kelly, him being at the helm. But I think men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So, I don't know, right? Leading the conference again for the second straight season, going to a bowl game for the third straight year, all under first-year head coach Charles Kelly. So, I don't know. Looking good for the Gamecocks and definitely happy to be covering them.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Thank you so much, Austin.
Yeah.
All right, today I'm here with news editor Riley Brisendine.
Hey.
You had a couple of stories come out. Why don't you talk about some of your favorite ones you did?
Okay, so my favorite ones that I've done recently have to be, I've done 3. The Brent Cunningham retirement story, that was very interesting. I got to learn a lot about what Dr. Cunningham did for the university. He actually was an alumni here, and then he became a teacher, after several years, he became a teacher for marketing and stuff, and then after that, one of his, the dean of the College of Business and Industry at the time, he was, already talking to him and his family, being he's going to be the next dean of the College of Business and Industry. That's going to be his job in the future. And so it was just kind of the way it was told to me, it was just kind of he had it made for that. And then he became the dean, and in 2022, I believe, and then it was announced earlier this October that he was retiring, and yeah.
So you got a chance to speak with Cunningham and everything?
I did, yes. I actually sent him just an email with a bunch of questions, and he was able to get back to me and just answer them in very long, very descriptive things, which was really nice. Just to kind of hear a little bit of his story, a little bit about his family background, as he had he met his wife here at Jack State. His father went here. His in-laws, his father-in-law, also went here, and then along with 2 out of 3 of his kids also received degrees from Jack State, and he had just a bunch of close family and friends. So it was really nice hearing about his family history with that.
Yeah. You also had a veteran story that I know of come
Yes, I
out.
did.
How was that?
It was actually really cool. So I walked in and I just got to see everybody in just their veteran hats, which was really interesting. And then there was just refreshments and there was coffee because it was like early in the morning and it was also really cold, and so they had all that stuff put out. And then they had the brass quintet play like the national anthem, Amazing Grace. Like they had them playing like traditional honorary Veterans Day songs, which was awesome. And then I spoke to Justin Parker, and he was the head of the Veteran and Military Services Office. And he basically just told me about how they stay connected to all the people. They go through the alumni services in order to find people who were in the military, who were veterans. And that's how they were able to get in touch with retired Major General Dave Bryan, who went to Jack State to become a teacher, who was from Birmingham. And then his father worked in the military also. He fought at Normandy at the Omaha Beach during World War II. And yeah, he went on, he talked about that in his speech as like a guest speaker. He was there, and he went on in his speech about that, as well as like what Jack State means to him. It was just like I remember he said, the thing that's magical about Jack State is that as if you don't give up on them, then they won't give up on you.
Yeah, you're right. And then you had a Challenger story. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes. Okay. So Jack State partnered with the Challenger Learning Center of Northeast Alabama to name the new Challenger Learning Center the Jack State STEAM Institute, home of the Challenger Learning Center. So basically what they do is they're going to be open, like, I want to say early spring, like February, March. They're going to be... So what I was told by Dr. Farrah Hayes, she's like one of the head directors. She told me that what they will do, like what their thing would look like, it would be... They would have 40 students, 20 of which would be able to go in this computer lab where it'll be set up kind of like a mission control center, like at NASA. And then they would go in there, and then the other 20 students would be able to go in like the simulator, like thing to transport them to space, in quotes. So basically what they're going to try to do is like they're learning how to problem solve, and they're learning how to, work with math, work with numbers, just to make it interesting and fun. Because around the age for middle school students, it's like the time where I think students have sort of doubts and people start to like lose interest and lose motivation for STEM courses and math and science, because that's also the age where it just gets confusing for a lot of students. And so yeah, this course is designed for students to, say, hey, this is like a really fun thing. Like I get to work in space and it just gets to be exciting. So the mission that they're in will last like 90 minutes. So for the 45 minutes, they'll be in those roles that they were assigned at the beginning. And then after the 45 minutes, they'll switch. And so everybody kind of gets a chance to do everything. And then after the mission, they'll talk about it and just kind of talk about their experience, what they wanted to do better, what was the good parts, the bad parts.
There's a lot of moving parts to this.
It's a lot of moving parts. When I first heard about it, I walked in with like a very open mind to this story because I actually just didn't know what it was at first. And then once I got in a little bit more detail, I talked to Martha Lavender, and she was also kind of like one of the faces behind this. She was the former president of the Gadsden State Community College. And so she basically just kind of gave me like more of an in-depth, like, why we're doing this, why this is so important for us.
Right.
Because it is really important to get students involved in those sorts of things.
Yeah, well, thank you for covering it, and thank you for being here, Riley. I appreciate it.
Yes, I had so much fun.
That's all for The Crow. Stay up to date with JSU news and make sure you check out our website at jsuchanticleer.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at JSU Chanticleer.